we have now agreed, basically, I think, that there is only two reasons why banks are not giving out loans to cooperatives. One being bias and the other one being ignorance.
Those are two reasons I would identify. There could be more that maybe I'm not aware of.
But you don't know about them, right? So
Yeah,
that's the I don't know.
I wouldn't know.
That's also a valid answer. That's a valid answer. There could be more, but I don't know. So that's basically what you know. All right. No, valid in the context of the rules that we have placed at the beginning of the conversation.
Yeah, all of my answers have been valid within that context.
Yes, just for the fun of it.
Which ones haven't been? Which ones haven't been?
Like every time you say yes, but there is nuance, every time you do that, you're basically breaking the rule of justifying nuance if you say that there is.
No, I'm not, because I then provide the justification.
No, you haven't. You've just said yes, yes. Okay, man. It's all right. It's okay.
So are we going to talk about Marxism, or are we going to talk about financing cooperatives the whole time?
We seem to not be able to get anywhere because you're not able to...
but you haven't asked me about Marxism. You've asked me about cooperatives.
I know. But we're not able to get anywhere at this point.
Marxism?
And we're still stuck at the point where I am wondering if ignorance and bias, like the definition of bias, is basically that it's not like if it would be in my direct financial interest to give out loans to cooperatives, we would not call that bias, right? Or would you still call that bias?
If it was in my... Well, that depends, because a bias can be something in someone's interest, where someone acts in their interest rather than in some other way.
No. If for example, if I have a loan, okay, and I give it to your cooperative for 3% interest rate, and to the regular business I give it for 1% interest rate, okay, and I've done this either because I have a bias against the cooperative or because I'm ignorant, right? That presumes
what?
That was what we agreed upon, right?
What did we agree? What?
So in an example where a cooperative is dealing with a bank, and the cooperative, like let's say you are the cooperative and I'm the bank, okay? And you want a loan from me, and I give you the loan for 3% interest rate, and I give it to a regular business I would give it for 1% interest rate. According to your explanation, that would be because I am biased or because I'm ignorant, correct? That's what you said.
I don't know why any one bank would give some business a loan at a higher interest rate than some other business.
What would be another reason?
There can be a variety of reasons.
What would be another reason? They might give
a higher interest rate to business X because business X is a new business they've never done any business with before, and so they're going to have a slightly higher interest rate than, say, business Y, which has done a lot of things equal.
No, bank, obviously,
and the bank therefore trusts them.
Obviously, all other things equal. That's what the purpose of the question.
I still don't know why anyone
all other things equal
a higher interest rate. Yeah, all things being equal, I don't know why one particular bank would give a higher interest rate on a loan to one firm over another. There could be a variety of reasons.
But everything else is equal, other than, like, how can there be a variety of reasons other than, like, if everything else is equal?
Yeah, what's being equal here is the fact that they're both brand new firms that haven't done business with this bank yet.
All two businesses. Completely the same, except one is a cooperative and one is privately owned.
Yep.
And one is getting according to your explanation, like what one of the systemic hurdles is, that one company will get a loan at, like, let's say 3%, and the other one is going to get one at 1%.
Well, I'm not saying something like that. I'm not saying specifics. I'm not saying that cooperatives have higher interest rates to pay. Maybe they do. I don't know. I haven't looked at that.
That's what you've claimed. You've claimed that many times in this conversation.
I have not claimed that many times.
Okay, what have you claimed?
What I have claimed.
What's the disadvantage in regards to loans?
Systemic barriers to the formation of worker cooperatives, one of those being that they receive bank loans at lower rates than traditional firms do.
You mean higher rates, right?
No, lower rates. The rate at which firms get loans from banks is lower for cooperatives than it is for traditional firms.
So lower interest rates?
More likely to get
that's what you mean.
a
Okay,
bank loan.
So it's about
if you have a traditional
but I asked you about that
and versus a worker cooperative.
I asked you about that, and you okay. Now you've gone back to that position. Okay.
I haven't left that position. That's been my position.
That's fine, but that's fine. Then I just reformulate my question. So all things equal, two companies, one gets the loan, the other one doesn't get the loan. The reason for that is, according to you, either bias or ignorance, right? Or a mix of both.
I don't know. Any one situation I'm not going to be able to tell you about. Broadly speaking, though, yeah, I think that
if all things are equal,
that doesn't change anything. I'm granting you all things equal.
How do you plan on having conversations about this topic in general? Like, what do you think is a meaningful way of testing if what you're saying is correct or not? Like, even understanding what you're saying.
Like, with respect to there being systemic barriers to the formation of worker cooperatives?
Yeah, like how can you give me an example?
I think we should look at the data with respect to like the amount of loans that they get from banks, their adoption within the market, things of that nature. And I think that when we see that they're typically not the style of firm that most people go for, they receive bank loans at lower rates. Yeah, I think that gives us information.
So when you're saying
the difference between worker cooperatives and traditional firms.
So when you're saying the reason, so we basically just have to roll it up from the beginning again. So why are cooperatives not taking over? Why are they not everywhere? Why are they not succeeding? Answer: systemic hurdles. Can you give an example of a systemic hurdle? Bank loans. Why aren't they giving bank loans at higher rates, or at lower interest rates or higher interest rates? So then we asked that question.
I'm not talking about interest. When I say rate, I'm not talking about interest rate.
Okay, I'm sorry. Then I misunderstood you.
The rate at which the firms are receiving loans. So a worker cooperative is less likely to get bank loans. They don't get bank loans as much as traditional firms do.
Sure. And then I ask you for when this happens, the reason is what? And then we agreed that your answer is a mix between bias and ignorance. Is that correct so far?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Doesn't that presuppose that if one would get rid of that bias, one would have, if I say that you have a bias, if that bank would give out the loans because the company is just worse, would just not give out the loans because the company is just worse, that we would never say that that's a bias, right? So bias always presumes that there is something else other than the main interest that the bank has, correct?
I don't think I understand what you're asking.
Okay, so
are you saying that the reason worker cooperatives don't get loans is because they're worse business models?
So let's say I'm picking a team for a soccer game, okay? So I have a bunch of guys that are standing in front of me, and I'm picking my teammates, okay? And when somebody accuses me of having a bias, what they mean is that I'm deciding based on criteria other than them being good or bad at playing soccer, right? That's what bias would mean. Okay, give me one situation where I could purely decide based on their soccer skills, but someone would rightfully accuse me of bias.
Well, I think the problem here is I think I have a different concept of bias than you do. I think bias is just somebody acting in the interests of is acting in more personal interests rather than other than like a personal interest-free examination of something. Yeah, so like when we say news sources are biased, what we're saying is that when they report on data, they're reporting on it from some given set of interests over others rather than from an interest-free perspective. where interest here refers to like the
let's just quickly
that
stick to
people
the
have
simpler
with respect
example.
to certain ideologies.
Let's stick to the simpler example. So someone could only rightfully accuse me of being biased in my choice of teammates if my choice depends on other factors other than the soccer skills of the teammates, correct?
I don't know.
Why?
You might factor into your bias the success of a team.
But there must be a part that is not outside of soccer skills, correct? If there is,
I don't know. I'm not.
Man,
this is
come
a
on, man. This is
confusing
dishonest,
concept
man.
of bias to me.
Bro, do you not know what bias means, man? This is like
I have a concept of bias, and what I'm saying here.
Can you
is
give
that
me
I
an
think
example?
your
Can you give me an
concept is
example
different than mine.
of a bias of a person
Yes, I
acting
think
biased?
I think Fox News has a conservative bias in their news reporting. What I
Sure.
mean when I say that is their reporting favors a conservative political perspective over all other perspectives.
Sure, and the
That's
idea
what I
would
take a
be,
bias
and
to be,
the reason why we would,
favoritism.
sure, and the reason why we would say that is because it's their actual job, they're actually what they're supposed to do is to just say the facts, right? They should just talk about the truth, talk about what's actually happening, but they're putting in things outside of what the actual job description basically is, what they actually should do, right?
I think so, if I'm understanding you correctly.
Swear to God, you're giving me headaches, man. So that's exactly the same thing.
Shit, I don't know.
That's exactly the same thing with the bank, right? So the moment the bank does something that is outside of their primary goal, for example, like if we think about the bias that they had basically at the time of when they were not giving black people loans, they did not take into consideration their primary objective of making money and selecting for good companies.
Yeah, I don't think that has anything to do with it. I think it was just racism. I think they were just racist. I don't think it has to do with that.
That's the label
they
you can
weren't
put.
Considering the profit that they could have got. No, there's nothing. They were just racist.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what a bias is.
But that's what I'm saying. You're not, bro. You're not listening. That's exactly what I'm saying. So I'm agreeing with you. I'm agreeing with you. Like racism, like being racist in a position where you're working in a bank is a bias, because it is not your job to determine the race of the person that is in front of you. Your job is to determine the success of their business in order to get your camera is very blurry. I don't know why, but yeah.
Oh yeah, I don't know what's going on there either. That's
okay.
I can't fix that.
Hopefully
sure, it fixes itself.
Okay, no problem. Do you see what I mean by bias? Like every decision, you cannot say that the bank, the person that gives out the loans is biased if their decision of giving out the loan or not is based purely on the prediction that they make about the success of the business.
So you're saying that it's not a bias if they're working from just purely objective standards when they make their determinations.
Yes, objective standards that are relevant for the profession that they're doing at that point. So the profession that they're doing, like the job that they're doing, like their job, what they're supposed to do is to evaluate the success of the business and the likelihood of them getting that loan back, right? That's their main job. That's their main job when they're deciding. And the moment that other factors play into that decision, like for example the skin color of that person, even though there is no like reason for them to do so, like even though that there is no practical reason for their job to do so, in that moment we can say it's bias. Do we agree on that?
Yeah, I think I can agree with that.
Okay, so that presumes that the person that doesn't do that will be. What happened? No,
I think I got rid of I just turned my camera off.
Yes, now it's better.
Fix the blurriness issue. Sorry about that. I have no idea. It's done that once before. I have no idea.
No problem at all. No problem at all. So that presumes that the person that is So wait, and the same thing we have with ignorance as well, right? So we would only talk about somebody being ignorant if the facts that they are being ignorant about are important for their decision making, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty
I mean, I just take
self-explanatory.
ignorance to be just general, just lack of knowledge on something, just not
But
having.
Sure, but it doesn't, like, ignorance in that regard is like you only being ignorant if it's actually important for your job. If you don't know about like some microbacteria in the ocean, which has nothing to do with whether that company is going to be successful or not, we would not call you ignorant for that, right?
Well, I would. I mean, if you don't know anything,
You would call
about
somebody
it, that's what ignorant? It means
ignorant?
to be ignorant.
You would call somebody ignorant?
If you're a biologist and you don't know about physics,
no, he's not a biologist. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying it's not a biologist. Their job is not to do that.
Example.
But
so like if somebody was a biologist and they said, I don't know anything about physics, they're ignorant of physics. That's what it means to be ignorant, to not know about something.
But no. It's not enough to not know about something. That's
what ignorance means.
No.
Yes. Yes.
Let me explain to you why it's not the case. Because the bank teller or the person that gives out loans, it's not their job to know about some rare bacteria.
Whether it's your job to know something or not has nothing to do with whether you're ignorant.
It's not important for what they're doing. So you would never call a bank teller ignorant for not knowing about some bacteria in the sea.
I would say that they didn't know about that. They're ignorant of it.
The bank teller, the guy at the bank, is ignorant because they don't know. So everybody has to know everything.
Because they don't
so
know
then everybody is ignorant.
That's what ignorance means.
But then everyone is ignorant.
Everyone is ignorant of a lot of things.
Then ignorance means nothing anymore.
Condensed matter physics. No, ignorance just means, like, I'm right here. I'm looking at the Cambridge English Dictionary. Ignorance, lack of knowledge, understanding, or information about something. So if you don't know anything about, say, like, I don't know, advanced theoretical physics, then you're ignorant of it. That's what ignorance means. Not knowing about something. And I just cited a dictionary.
Sure.
One of the world's foremost dictionaries.
Sure. When you say someone is ignorant, this person is ignorant. What do you mean when you say that?
That they lack knowledge.
So everyone is ignorant. So basically, you can point at every person in the whole world and you can say you are ignorant
of at least some things.
No. You are being ignorant, like as an adjective.
No.
What does that mean?
See, you're taking ignorance to be like some like state of existence, where I'm taking ignorance to simply mean not knowing about something. So you can be ignorant of things because you lack knowledge about them.
What does it mean to be ignorant?
It means to lack knowledge about something. Again, lack of knowledge, understanding, or information about something.
To be ignorant?
To be ignorant, would be to lack knowledge.
So here it says in the dictionary, it says lacking in knowledge or training, untaught, untutored, uninstructed, unenlightened, uninformed, unaware. Okay?
Yeah.
So I'm saying that makes only sense if it's in any case, in any way, shape, or form necessary for you to know that fact. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense. Otherwise, then everybody is ignorant.
That's not present in the definition of the word ignorance.
When you are saying that the reason why banks don't give out loans is because so you're saying they don't know. That's basically the only thing that you're saying.
Yeah, people who work at banks, who work in the loan departments, don't really know any. Like if I went to the Wells Fargo here in town and went to the loan department and asked the person who I'm going to talk to about getting a business loan, hey, can you tell me what a worker cooperative is? They would probably say something like, I'm not really sure. They might say, yeah, I've heard of that. I'm not really sure what it is. They don't know about it. So, but that. So again,
and wouldn't you call that ignorant because they should know?
Yeah, they're ignorant. They don't know about it.
But
That's
not because. But the way I understand it is that when you say they're being ignorant, it means they don't know and they should know. That's what being ignorant means.
No, it doesn't necessarily mean that they should know.
Okay, sure. That's what I understand also from
cooperatives are.
Okay, sure. Then we have a different opinion about it. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I can, but doesn't matter. At the end of the day, what you are saying is that they should know, right?
I'm not saying that. I can't sit here and say what other people should or shouldn't know outside of the niche instances. Like a doctor should know about the human body. I mean, that just seems obvious. But it's going to be difficult in prescribing what it is people should or shouldn't know, because should and shouldn't are normative terms. And
bro, focus.
I don't believe in stance-independent norms. So I am focused.
Focus on our topic.
I am focused.
Focus on our topic.
I'm fully on topic right now.
I hope so. So when you say the reason why cooperatives are not successful is because they're not getting loans, and they're not getting loans because
I think they're successful as businesses.
Bro, come on. Let me at least finish. You think that we should have cooperatives. And I ask you, why don't we have cooperatives? And then you say, because we have systemic hurdles. What is the reason? What is one of the systemic hurdles? One of the systemic hurdles is we're not getting loans. So you're saying basically we should get the loans, but we are not getting them, right?
Should worker cooperatives get business loans? Absolutely, they should.
Okay, so you're saying we should get loans.
Addressing that problem.
Wait.
Which is what I would rather talk about. It's much more constructive.
Come on, man. And I ask you, why are they not giving out loans? And then you're saying because they don't know, because they're ignorant about the facts about cooperatives. And then I ask you, should they know? And then you say no. Isn't that crazy?
That's not what I said.
Insanity?
I don't know if
that's
they
insanity. Know. That's insanity.
But I don't think any one person who works at a bank that helps with loans, knowing personally what worker cooperatives is, has anything to do with this discussion.
You said that. I ask you, should we have cooperatives? Yes. Why don't we have them? Because we don't get loans. Should we get loans? Yes, we should get loans. Why are we not getting loans? Because they don't know. Should they know? No, they shouldn't know.
But
no, they shouldn't know. I don't know if they should know.
Cooperatives is not the only reason. Bro. It's one of 3 reasons that I cited with respect to.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it does.
I'm asking you for that one reason.
On one reason.
Sure,
and I listed a number of reasons, all of which are going to contribute to the problem.
You only listed 2. One was bias and one was ignorance. And we already talked about bias.
2 is a number, right? And I said I listed a number of them.
We already talked about bias, and now we're talking about ignorance. And for bias, we've already agreed that basically the reason why they're being called bias is that they're doing something outside of that. They're influencing their decisions by criteria outside of determining determining how successful the business is going to be, like predicting how successful the business is going to be.
Well, I don't think I said anything about that.
Sure, but you will remember when you rewatch it.
No, I don't need to rewatch it. I'm autistic. I have an eidetic memory. So,
okay, good.
Yeah, I know what it is that I said. If you want to misrepresent that, you're free to.
Okay.
I think the audience is smart enough to determine for themselves what I said.
Okay. So in both cases, I think from that it follows that a person that is not biased and not ignorant.
What does a person have to do with anything here? I said these are systemic issues.
You haven't let me.
If you'll remember, an hour and a half ago.
You don't even. Why don't you let me finish? Why don't you let me finish the sentence at
why
least?
Why do you keep misrepresenting the things that I say? I'd let you finish if you weren't.
I asked you a question. I asked you a question. I asked you a simple question, and I haven't even finished asking the question.
Didn't sound like a question.
If a person is not biased and not ignorant, I'm still asking a question. You know that, right?
Yeah, your question's misplaced because it doesn't address the issue that I wrote.
It's still going. It's not done yet. It's still going.
But the point that you're not getting is the very question you're asking fundamentally misunderstands the issue. Yes, I do know the question. You're talking about a person. But what I'm talking about has nothing to do with
I'm asking you
person. It
a
has to do with
hypothetical. I'm asking you a
systems.
hypothetical.
It's a systemic issue
I'm asking you a hypothetical question. So I'm asking you, let's say
about persons.
let's say we have person A and person B, and both people's jobs is to give out loans. Okay, so what do? A, like, who do you think is going to be more successful in doing their job? Who's going to be better at predicting how successful a business is going to be? The one that is ignorant and biased, or the one that is not ignorant and not biased?
Ignorant and biased with respect to what?
All the things that we talk about, cooperatives, obviously.
I don't know how much that's going to have to do with anything, because I think whether or not any one specific lender at a bank, or loan officer, whatever.
It's not a specific person. It's a general question.
But
who do you
you
think
were talking
is going to be
about,
on average?
Exactly. Who do you think you're talking about? People here. You're not talking about systems. You're talking about people. And what I'm saying is that it doesn't matter what the people are biased against, or what the people are or are not ignorant of, because when banks give out loans, it doesn't depend on what the personal biases of that one person are. They're giving out loans based on policy set forth by the bank.
Okay.
Again, this is
which
systemic issue.
Okay,
I don't care what the people think.
It can be. We can talk about that as well. It doesn't matter. So, which bank is going to be more successful? The one that has a policy that is unbiased and aware of the success of cooperatives, or the one that is biased and unaware of the success of cooperatives? Which one is going to have
I don't think that whether a bank gives loans to cooperatives is gonna I don't think that banks started giving out loans to worker cooperatives as equally as they are traditional firms, that banks would somehow be more successful than they are, right? Loans are loans are loans. I don't think the type of business that banks are giving out loans to really matters to the bank's financial success.
You don't think that the rate at which they're correct in predicting a successful business?
I said type of business firm. I said I don't think the structure of the business
you can't interrupt me like that all the time.
Success.
You can't
well,
do that.
Then
man.
Don't misrepresent what I say, and I won't have to interrupt.
You have to let me finish. You have to let me finish asking my question, and then you can object. Okay? That should be I haven't stated that rule at the beginning because I thought it was obvious, but you can object to what I'm saying, but you can't keep interrupting.
You don't have a lot of discussions with philosophers, do you?
I don't care about that, to be honest. It's not really important if I have or haven't. So,
of course you'd think it wasn't.
Do you think it's normal do you think it's good for a philosopher to interrupt and to not engage? And
all the time.
Do you think that's good? Do you think that's a good thing?
Yeah, I do. I think for the most part, when philosophers and those educated in philosophy do it, they're doing it because they're either A, trying to provide a correction, provide clarification, or get clarification or specification on something so that they can better understand what is being discussed and how they relate to the broader context of that discussion.
So if I'm asking a question, you can just interrupt in the middle. I don't consent to that.
If the question that you're asking is starting from premises I haven't granted and they're not representative of my positions, I'm probably
there is
no
premise there. There is no premise there.
Every question is asked in a context.
So you can interrupt every question?
If I feel that the premise that the question is based on is not representative of my position, then yeah, I'm probably going to stop you and say, hey, the question you're asking is kind of pointless because there isn't anything in the question representative of the positions I've expressed in the discussion.
You haven't even heard the question.
I don't need to hear the whole question to know whether or not the premise is related to a position I've expressed.
It's really hard. It's really, really hard to have a serious, honest discussion with you. It's really, really hard. It's very, very difficult. I mean, it's such an obvious thing. And the thing that we're talking about since now, I think 1 hour and 45 minutes is such a basic thing. Everyone would agree that that if someone is acting biased or ignorant, they will be worse at what they're doing. like no matter what they're doing. If it's giving loans, if it's choosing the soccer player, like that's just a given.
What
That's
if the
just a
job
given.
is to be biased?
Sure. I don't know if it's even worth like continuing to talk about this, to be honest. I don't know. It's really I think the most interesting part of this conversation was actually the meta conversation, where I had to basically force you to stick to one, the other, to I don't know, or to justify
you
your
haven't
nuance.
forced me to do anything in this discussion.
Sure.
I like how you're framing this discussion as if you've had to like hold my hand and walk me through it, when the only one who has been consistently misunderstanding what is being said is you.
No, I failed.
And I don't mean that as an insult. I genuinely don't. But it is clear that you have not been understanding what it is that I'm saying. And I've been quite clear about what it is that I'm saying. I don't know if maybe there's a slight language barrier here. I don't know if English is your first language or not.
It's not.
But that may potentially explain a little bit.
Maybe. So do you want me to steelman your position?
If you'd like to, yeah, feel free.
Sure. So from what I understand is that what you're saying is that you think that we could swap basically all of the companies that we have right now from being privately owned to being basically all the workers sharing the ownership of that company, and we would have a at least as good as productive society. Correct?
Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate.
And you think that the only reason why this is not happening just out of like, we generally strive for everything that is better, right? We're trying to make everything like better, and so the only reason why this thing that is better is not happening is because there's actually gatekeepers that are keeping us from going there. Is that correct as well?
Well, I don't know if I would say that we always try to seek what's better, because again, better is a normative term and people are going to have different ideas of what is better. I think that largely in society, what is favored by those who have the power to affect meaningful change in society isn't necessarily what's better, but what aligns with their personal interests. And I think that the personal interests of those groups of people are largely going to be things like the protection and preservation of their wealth and their power. And I think that oftentimes that's going to come, for the most part, it's going to come at the detriment of the rest of society. And I think that there are meaningful ways that we can move past that. And I think that moving into worker cooperatives is one of those ways. But I do think that generally, yes, there are gatekeepers for capitalism. And I think that a lot of capitalists, particularly those that own the very banks that would give loans to worker cooperatives, know that if worker cooperatives were to become a prominent role in the economic structure that we have, that all that would do is afford significantly more economic power to a broader base of workers who would then be capable of possessing the economic power to meaningfully challenge that of the private business owners. And I think that the private business owners don't want that for reasons associated with the levels of wealth and power they currently hold in society.
How is that like? That is like what I said, right?
I mean, I think you captured it for the most part, yes. I don't think that what you said was inaccurate.
Can you name one thing that wasn't captured by what I said?
Well, it's not that there are things that you didn't capture. It's more that you took what I said and said it in a more simple way. And what I'm saying is that you're not wrong, but there are some complexities there.
Yeah, but what's missing? Like what I'm asking is, what is missing? Like there must be
everything that I just said. So when I said everything that I had just recently said, that's what was missing.
Okay,
but again, I don't think you were inaccurate.
Like I can't see. I don't see any added information from what you have said. Like none. Literally none. Like you've just explained additional in the sense of you've used more words and you've like said, but it's not that any percent of what I was saying was wrong or was not encapsulating everything that you said as well, right?
I don't think that what you said was wrong, but I don't think that what you said encapsulated everything that I did. I don't think you mentioned anything about interests associated with wealth and power or anything like that in what you said, and I don't think that what you said captured those nuances.
I said there's gatekeepers that prevent you from doing that, which presumes
express keeping comes from.
Sorry, you cut off. Can you repeat that?
I said sure, but you didn't express, and what you said was not expressed like what this gatekeeping is and where it comes from. What I said did express sort of the origins for the gatekeeping. Why?
I mean, the origin for the gatekeeping is that it's in their interest. They don't want to let like gatekeeping already has in its definition, you already have the interest of the activity, right?
Yeah, but what those interests are is going to be important.
Yeah, the interest is not to let somebody in where you are already at, right? Which is ownership.
Well, yeah, but I mean that's just broad. When we speak about specifically capitalism, what the interests are going to be more specified.
And the thing where we are basically in disagreement about is I don't actually see any scenario where somebody would gatekeep and would successfully be able to gatekeep something that is actually superior. I think that capitalism...
That's the thing. When you say superior, again, that's normative language. I think that worker cooperatives are a superior system. The capitalists don't care that it is. It threatens their power. So you're starting from this assumption that like everybody always only ever acts rationally and in ways that are beneficial for everyone, rather than their own personal interests triumphing ideas and systems that would benefit more people more broadly, but they don't care because they don't get personal benefit out of it.
Yeah, but I believe that, for example, that's why I wanted to talk about a concrete example, which was the example of loans. I believe that it would be in the interest of a bank to give out loans to the best companies. If they have X amount of money and they can give it to 10 companies, they will give it to the 10 best companies where they know that they're going to get where the probability is the highest that they're going to get their money back. And if they don't do that, that would be either because they're biased or because they're not educated enough, because they're ignorant to do so. And I believe that a bank that does not do that would outcompete that bank pretty fast. So let's say that one bank is has a personal interest of not doing that. Another bank that just wants to be more successful than that bank would still just do it and basically run that other bank out of business. That's my capitalist theory about it. Okay, and there might be actualities, like things that are happening in the world that prevent this from happening. That might be like cartels forming and stuff like that. That might be the case. There is instances where companies are not competing with each other, but like forming cartels. But I think that's like that we should at least talk about that then. Like that would be the big issue then, right? Did you follow what I was saying?
I think so.
What did I say?
I don't really know. I was mulling over something that you had said earlier because I was really trying to understand it.
Okay, can I just? I really want to stick to that point because. So in my perfect model of capitalism, okay, the bank that is not biased and not ignorant would outperform the bank that is biased and ignorant.
Why?
Because they would be better. Like being biased and ignorant prevents you from making on average, you're going to make worse decisions in regards to predicting which company will give you the loan back and which isn't.
Way?
Like the way what do you mean? Like worse in what do you mean worse? Like on average,
you said they would make worse
on
decisions.
average, yeah, they will make, on average, they will give out loans to companies that will fail more than the company that is not biased and not ignorant.
How do you know that?
That's just how basic science works. Like if you're not biased and if you're not ignorant, if you only put in the facts and only put in your statistics the things that are actually relevant, you're going to get a better outcome.
Is that
you're
true?
Going to get
in all instances?
Like in all instances where it's not just completely random.
Because it seems to me that the interest of the people who own the banks isn't geared towards whether or not a firm is going to be successful, but whether or not a firm has some given structure. Then the bank's not going to care.
But there will be bias. There will be a bias. Like, but there will be a bias. Maybe on the long run, maybe you can say, like, if I would steelman your position, I would say, okay, on the long run, let's say the idea is on the long run, even if that company is better, but because it's a cooperative, we're not going to give them the loan, right? Because they're thinking on the short term, I might make more money by giving to the correct company. But on the long run, I'm going to win because I will have prevented market socialism. Is that a good steelman of your position?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So, and I'm saying that in a perfect capitalist society, in a perfect capitalist system, there will always be a person that will think about the short term and will try to make the money, right? Just like with graphic cards, let's say with graphic cards and RAM, okay? So when a few companies decide to form a cartel and to release them just bit by bit in order to make more money, right? The only reason why they're able to do that is because there is not infinite other companies that could just come up and just release everything in advance and outcompete them. Because there is no competition, basically.
Yeah, you're talking about a monopoly.
I'm talking about a cartel situation, like.
Yeah, a monopoly. That's what a cartel
is. A monopoly would be that it's one company, but a cartel would be that it's multiple
monopoly
companies.
Generally refers to just significant control over a market by a small amount of firms. It doesn't necessarily have to be one.
Okay, it doesn't have to be one. Like what's a I don't know how you say that in English. Is cartel the right word?
Yes. Yes.
Like cartel building, is that something that you use for economy, or is that just like narcos and stuff like that?
No. That exists. There have been cartels, and you could say are cartels now.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. So in my opinion, like if that's even possible, if it's even possible that banks actually collude with each other to prevent market socialism from happening, right? That's what you're basically saying, right? That none of them are basically, like, they're all biased and they're able to be biased without getting without getting competition from other banks that are not biased, is because they're all doing it, and basically there is a type of cartel building happening there. They're only able to do that is because they're basically doing that in collusion with each other, right? Because otherwise then just a different bank would come, and then I'm like, I don't know about your market socialism stuff, but there I'm on board with, because I think it's one of the biggest problems of our current society and our current capitalist system is that we allow for cartels to form, and is that we allowed for companies to collude and to not have like competition, right? So that would be something where we can basically, where we have a common goal, where we could sit down and say, okay, let's fix that, right?
Yeah. Why do you think that happens? And
I think it's just
to happen under capitalism.
I think it was already clear from the beginning. If you read like Adam Smith, Wealth of Nations, like he's not the first one. He's not the first one to like. He hasn't invented capitalism, but he has basically like taken all of the contemporary writings and knowledge, all of the knowledge about basically basic economy, and put it all together into like this one book. But basically, already in 1776, he already knew that that was inevitably something that would happen, and that would have to be prevented by the state.
Yeah, and I'm asking, why is it inevitable under the capitalist mode of production for monopolization to happen?
I think it can also happen under market socialism. Like, why wouldn't it?
I don't see how.
Like, why can't?
Because there isn't.
Let me finish my question, man.
To buy off other firms.
Please let me finish my question. Why isn't it possible that in the same way that 3 banks collude, now 3 cooperatively owned banks collude?
I answered that.
No, please answer it now. Now that I've finished that question.
Because there is no incentive to do that.
The incentive is that they all make more money.
Not necessarily, no. Not in a cooperativist system. The maximization of profit is not necessarily the incentive, even within market socialism.
What is the incentive for people to?
Well, there could be a lot of incentives, but I think that stable firm operation would probably be the greater incentive. That just having firms that are stable and productive and that can contribute to their communities and to the people that then provide for the people that own and operate them is likely
survival
to be
of the company,
the
right?
primary incentive under a market socialist structure.
The survival of the company, you mean?
Well, no, not just the survival of the company, but the productivity
that's
of
what
the
stability
company, the
would be,
survival
right?
of the company, the ability for it to contribute meaningfully to its community, the ability for it to provide for those who own and operate the firm. And this would not necessitate things like market capture and what have you, because that's driven primarily by the profit incentive, by increasing profit. The more control you have over the market, the greater your profits are.
When you say X, why does X happen under capitalism and X wouldn't happen under socialism, under market socialism, not even socialism, but under market socialism? What, don't you think that you have to say what it is that doesn't make people act in that way? Like, we're basically talking about. No, I didn't. I don't see how that follows. You just said that they don't want that, but you haven't said.
No, I didn't. I explained.
Why don't they? Why don't they want?
I said because I don't think that that would be the base incentive. Because the incentives would be different. The means of operation would be different.
What would they be?
Then I explained.
Like, why would they be different?
Well, why would they be different?
Yeah.
Because you have a different structure to the system.
Different structures it, bro. Of systems
operate under different incentives. I did. I said the incentive would be would not be towards just profit maximization. The incentive would be towards stability, productivity, and community orientation.
Why would that be the case? Like, why would let's say,
because that's what people want.
I am still me. You are still you. We are in a capitalist system right now, and I want profit maximization. Do you want profit maximization?
No.
Okay, but we're still in the capitalist system, right? So you're able to not do that. So now we switch to market socialism. What has changed? Why does my opinion change?
What do you mean? What I don't care about your personal
why did
opinion.
I stop? Like, why did me, and there's like hundreds and millions of other people like me, right, who are just interested in profit maximization, right?
I don't think that's what most people are interested in.
Okay, so already under capitalist system, most people are not interested in that.
No, I think capitalists are interested in that. Most people aren't capitalists because most people don't have capital.
Okay, so the people that are right now capitalists, only they, only they. So only the people that own the means of production, only they are right now interested primarily in maximizing profit, right?
Well, I didn't say only the capitalists, but primarily capitalists, yes.
What does that mean, man?
That means that capitalists are the biggest group that does, but there are also other groups that are smaller that also are interested in that. Yes.
Yes, no, or nuance? Who are these other people who are also primarily interested in
the financiers, the socialite class?
And they're not capitalists.
Petit bourgeois. So no, they're not capitalists.
Okay, they're not capitalists. So it's not only capitalists, it's also petit bourgeois.
I never said it was only capitalists. I said it was primarily capitalists.
Okay,
Those do not mean the same thing.
Okay, what are we talking about? Like, aren't these millions of peoples then?
Is this millions of people I don't think so, no. Maybe hundreds of thousands, but not millions.
Okay. Worldwide,
And
hundreds
that's a
of
maybe.
thousands. Obviously, with you, everything's a maybe, right? So
Well,
worldwide, it's worldwide, it's hundreds of thousands, right?
probably somewhere thereabouts.
So now we're switching, and the rest is not like the rest is not interested in maximizing profit. What are they
No, that's
interested
not, I
in?
don't think that's a thing that they even think about. Most people are
Okay.
interested in like their family, having, enjoying their lives. Most people are interested in waking up and going to work to earn income so that they can afford a place. So they don't give a fuck if this, like, they don't care. They're not sitting there thinking, what ways can I maximize profit today? No, they're going, okay, I got to do this. I got to go here. I got to get groceries. My son's got soccer practice this afternoon. Yeah, most people are not interested in profit maximization.
But that's under
They're interested
capitalism,
in
right?
living their lives.
But that's under
What's
capitalism.
that?
That's under capitalism, right?
Yes, we live under capitalism.
But your thing, the thing that you were saying was that because of the structures of market socialism, people would not have that interest.
There would be there wouldn't be capitalists under market socialism.
So the people,
the idea that we should
hundreds,
operate on a profit incentivized system would fall away. We would be more people centered around providing for communities and the people that are a part of them, rather than just maximizing profit for a very small class of owners.
So the people, like, let's say the people that are not profit maximize interested, like the people that are currently already in the capitalist society, who are not petite bourgeoisie, who are not capitalists, etc. These people now own like a company, okay? So what will be the primary driver of their decisions?
Their interests.
Sure, but what are these interests?
They're going to be with, living a comfortable life, making sure that they earn enough to live a comfortable life, and that they have the resources available to them to live a comfortable life. So a place to live that's sound and
sure.
That's
so
safe.
Let's say they own a bank,
clean, drinkable water, safe, edible food, medicine, healthcare.
So let's say they
leisure.
Okay, man, I got it. So let's say they have a bank. It's a corporately owned bank, right? You said that banks would also would be owned in a cooperative, right?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things that could potentially happen with banking under a market socialist system, but we can go with just banks are themselves cooperatives.
Sorry? Say again?
I said I think that there's probably a lot of ways that banking could potentially be structured under like a cooperativist or a market socialist system, but we can just go with banks.
And then the people that are not profit driven but still want, like, they don't want to lose their bank, right?
Well, I mean, in the sense that they don't want to lose like their bank account and the banking services that they have, of course, yes.
Yeah, so they want to have like a stable, like, they could basically collude with other banks to keep banking more profitable, right?
If that was their interest, yeah, I suppose they could. I don't think that's something that would happen, though.
Why not?
There's a lot of things I could grant that could happen under market socialism, but I don't think they would.
Yeah, but you have to then justify why they wouldn't.
Because I don't think the incentive to do it would be there.
But we already cleared up that the incentive would be to not lose the bank, right? Or to not lose the business.
Yeah, that doesn't mean I'm interested in colluding to take power and to like overcome an economy. Like, why would they want to do that?
Because they don't want to lose their company.
Yeah, but they don't need to do that to make sure they don't lose the company.
But can't you imagine a situation where you have a new competitor that could take over the market, but people are gatekeeping and colluding in order to keep their profits?
Under market socialism? Sure, I think that's something that could happen. I still think market socialism is a better system than capitalism, so I'm not sure what the point being made is.
So yeah, I can tell you what the point being made is. The point being made is that cartels could also happen under market socialism.
No, I don't think they would be cartels. I don't think they could develop that to that level.
Can you justify
And
that?
that's just because I don't think the incentives exist, nor do I think that under a cooperative system, I think that there would be a different style and set of regulations in place. And I think that a lot of state governments and potentially the federal government would have laws in place that prevent those kinds of things from happening. I'm not saying market socialism is some like perfect system that has no flaws. I'm making a case that it's better than what we have now and does more to provide for the needs of more people than the system we have now.
Do you remember where the conversations start? Like when you say stuff like that, like I feel like you don't remember where the conversation started.
You can feel that way. That's
like,
fine.
Can you tell me why we are talking about cartels in market socialism? Can you tell me why we are talking about this right now? Just curious. Like
my assumption would be because you think cartels can still form under market socialism, and I don't think that's probably something that would happen.
You asked me why is it? I said that we could, like, if we come to an agreement about like all of the stuff that we have talked, like I tried to like hammer like into you to just get here. After we have agreed upon that, I've said that we could have a common goal, which would be to eliminate cartels. And your answer was that why is it that cartels form under capitalism? That what was your question to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I said, why do you ask that? Like cartels could just as well form under market socialism. And then you said, no, it wouldn't. And then I said, why? And then we still don't know why.
Yeah, well, I explained why, so you just must not have been listening. When I said that the incentive structures under which cartels and monopolies form don't exist under a market socialist structure, because those exist as a result of profit incentivization, and we're capturing greater sections of the market or just whole economic sectors in general, maximizes profit. When you can eliminate competition, that's less people you have to compete with. That means that you have greater power over pricing. You can charge whatever you want. If you're the only company or one of a few companies that people can go to get a product, you can charge whatever you want for it. They don't have another choice. We see this all the time with internet service providers. There's only one, particularly in the rural areas of America where I live, where there's only one available in the area. And so they can charge whatever they want to give you internet because you can't choose anybody else. If you need internet, you have to pay whatever they want. And that plays into that profit incentive. But you don't have profit incentives under a market socialism. The incentives are more community and people oriented, where making money, ensuring that a business is successful is important, but maximization of profit at like any expense, like we see under capitalism, would not exist under a market socialist system. Those kinds of incentive structures wouldn't exist. So I did in fact explain why we would not expect to see monopolies and cartels arise under a market socialist system. Whether you were listening or not, I can't ensure.
Bro, collusions between companies can also just be done for survival. Doesn't have to be for
I don't know how that factors into anything that I said.
Because you say because people don't want to maximize profits, they wouldn't be cartels under market socialism. That's what you're saying, man. You're saying
that's a simple way of putting what I said. Yes.
Man, that's what you're saying. That's what you're saying.
That's a simple way of putting what I said.
That's the truth of what you're saying. Like if we read between the lines and if we go through all the bloomy talking points, then yeah, that's what you're saying. And exactly what you're saying is that's why there would be no cartels under market socialism. But then I can tell you it's not only for, even if I would grant that people under market socialism would not be after profits, even if I would grant that, you can also collude in order to survive, like just to grant to make sure that your company survives. So your complete argument falls flat.
I don't see how. You haven't like refuted anything that I've said.
Bro, if you say X cannot happen in my system because we don't have Y, and I tell you X can also happen because of other reasons outside of Y, for example Z,
like what?
and you can't provide me any evidence that Z doesn't exist in your system, then I have refuted your argument.
Well, you haven't outlined any incentive structures under a market socialist system that would incentivize the formation of cartels or monopolies.
If I ask you, cartels, why are no incentives for cartels in market socialism? You say because there is no wish for profit maximization, and I tell you there can be other reasons why people would collude and create
what
cartels.
are those reasons?
One could be survival of the company, gatekeeping.
Well, why would they need to form a cartel for the company to survive?
In order to gatekeep and keep other companies outside.
Well, why would they need to do that to survive and be successful?
Bro, you don't think that there is scenarios possible where this is the case? You don't think
the fact that there are possible scenarios does not mean those scenarios are actual or even plausible.
You don't think right now in the world that there is not companies that are actually obsolete, that could be replaced, but that we are not able to replace because of cartel forming?
Yeah, but that's because we're under capitalism, not market socialism. So
you haven't provided any evidence for that.
Yes, I have.
What would be the difference?
Wait, any evidence that we're under capitalism?
No, not any evidence. No, not any evidence that we're under capitalism. Any evidence that under market socialism we wouldn't have a situation that would be exactly like the one in capitalism, where one or more companies, like two or more companies, have to collude in order to make sure that they stay in the market.
I made that argument 2 times. In fact, I can make it again if you'd like to hear it again.